In this demo, I want to focus on profiling, on showing you how to apply rules on drill down. But first, I'm going to show you how to create a physical data object from scratch again. I will log into Informatica Developer, and I will be using the account called Developer. Remember, it can be anyone that your system administrator has configured, your data quality administrator, but I will be using Developer. Logging in into the model repository, I noticed that we have two projects already, one called Content and one called Customers_Data. The Customers_Data is where we're going to be doing our demos and you're going to be doing your labs. Content contains out-of-the-box content, either you purchase from Informatica or in collaboration with other team members. Other content has been put in here, or subscription basis. Notice our dictionaries, which are reference tables, existing rules, some rules for demonstration, and then the course writer has given us this folder called training materials, which there is a lot of maplets, a lot of objects already pre-created that we may need in our labs and in my demos. Also in our customers data, which is where I'm going to be working in, we have various physical data objects, maplets, profiles, and scorecards. In physical data objects, notice that you have European Union data. There is a file consisting of data for the European Union, their currency, their zip codes, their addresses, and then a United States, U.S. customer data, data fitting consumer data for the U.S. population. We have various maplets, and we have various profiles that has and scorecards that have already been executed. I'm going to focus on a very small data sample so that I can show you what profiling means and how to apply rules. The two data sets that I will be focusing on, and I'm going to my C drive, and there's a special directory called InfoShare. This is where we have put our sources if they are flat files. So under InfoShare PDO, you'll notice that I have created two data files, one JL Customers 10, one JL Customers 20. I will edit this simply using WordPad so that you can actually see the data. Notice approximately 20 customer records right in here, and that's the one that I will read in. Now, quickly showing you how I will create a PDO. In the physical data objects, you will go to New, create a physical data objects, and what's the purpose of a PDO? Well, the physical data objects in data quality means where am I reading data from, where is the data itself, and where am I going to write the results to. Commonly known as the source or the target, except we call them physical data objects. They can be flat files, non-relational, relational data, SAP, and WSDL. So I could read data from these objects or write into these objects. I'm going to be using a flat file for a small data set, and I'll do it quickly, create it from an existing file. I will browse for the file, and remember that it's called JL Customers 20. Now, like any other import utility, when it's flat files, you have to set it up. So I'll do that in a second. So the name of this physical data object is called JL Customers 20. Very important that you know where you're going to put it. I'm going to put it in the Customers Data folder, and it is in the model repository metadata. I'll click Next, and here is where I will spend some time configuring this correctly. For this demo, I'm just going to try to assume as many defaults as I can. I'll choose delimited, and I'm going to go to Next. I'm going to say that the comma is the delimiter, double quotes for text, and the first row contains the columns. I'll click Next. This is your opportunity to change either the data type or the precision of what you have. I'm going to leave everything just as default so I can quickly import this, and I will click Finish. Here it is. So this is the physical data object. Notice under the Customers Data project, there is something called JL Customers 20. I'm pretty much done. However, a physical data object has the ability for you to configure where the data is coming from and writing. So let's configure the read portion. Notice you have these two boxes on top, JL Customers and Output. We've got to configure these. So I select, and then on the left hand side, under Read, under on the left-hand side, under read, you see that on the right-hand side, I end up with runtime properties. This is where I will quickly tell it what is the actual physical name. In this case, it is source file name JL Customers 20, and it is coming from InfoShared PDO. Not much more that I should do here. Of course, you could always go and do other settings, but for right now, for my needs, that's good enough. I will go to the right. Where would I want to write data to? And again, I set up the runtime properties. In this case, I want to have the column headers out, and I want it to be stored where? In C:, InfoShared. Make sure I don't make a mistake. PDO is the subdirectory. And I want to call this the same name, except I'm going to append out so that I keep track that this is the target file. Otherwise, since I'm reading from the data and writing to it, I would be possibly overwriting the file, which is not what I want. So a file comes in, I will process it, and then I will send it out to a target file. Why did I do this? Why am I using this for both? Because normally I'll read data and I want to maintain the structure for the target, whether it's a relational or a flat file. But again, it could be any other target, any other PDO that has been predefined. And I'll demo some of that as we go through some of the demos. I'm pretty much done. So that's been configured correctly. Let me save this. And there goes my physical data object. Now, I want to profile this. Let me close the tab and just focus on profiling. You select a physical data object, and in this case, you merely go through the profile. Now, profiling, there are several types of profiles. Multiple profiles, when you can profile more than one data set, profile a single data set, or generate a profile model. This is more with modeling, advanced data explorer techniques, and we'll use this for joint analysis in another module. Right now, simply, I want to profile, and again, give it a name. I'll leave the name profile. Where is it located? Same project, customers data. Any description, customer data, a small data set for demo. There it is. And notice that I select Run Profile on Finish. I click Next. Now, this is interesting. Every profile must be configured at least once, and every time you make changes, in other words, to maintain this. Now, you can have column profiling, primary key profiling, functional dependencies. We're not going to deal with primary key profiling and functional dependencies at the moment. This is more advanced profiling. We're going to focus on column profiling, which is what the Analyst does also using the Analyst tool. So I'm going to focus on column profiling and drill down options. Quickly, I go to column selection. Which columns am I interested in profiling? Probably the first time you want to do all of them. If it was a second or third time or downstream maintaining this, I may not want to profile everything. In this first run, I will select all of them. Would I like to apply any filters? Well, in order to do this, you've got to know the data. I haven't really profiled it yet, so I'm not going to apply any filters right now. What about sampling? Run it against all rows, complete analysis, or Data Quality Developer has a formula to get samples. First, n number of rows, random sample, and random sample auto. Just different ways to speed up the process of running the profile. Eventually, you're going to have to run the profile against the entire data set. But for performance or testing, you may want to select a smaller size sample. I'll leave it as all rows. I only have 20 records, pretty small. And then drill down. Drill down means that when I profile data, if I ever want to look at the original record where this data came from, I can drill down. Now, notice I selected all the columns for drill down, or I could only select some of them. If I'm not interested in all the columns, then I'll just select. Perhaps I just want customer ID, name, and the state. That's all I want to drill down into. Why would I select not all columns? For performance reasons. It takes time to retrieve the record and get all the columns. Now, interesting thing here on drill down on live data, you have an option staged and live. Now, stage means that when we run the profile, the data, the original records will be copied into data quality. Therefore, when I want to drill down, it's going against what has already been staged or copied over, which is great. It seems like that would be what we want, but live data means that it's going to go to the original data source and obtain the records. It seems that on live data would probably be a performance hit, but in fact, no, it isn't. I would recommend always drill down on live data, even though there is data being sent back and forth because of bandwidth. It is better to do this. Stage will occupy a lot of resource, a lot of disk space. So be careful. For large volumes, you may, and I recommend, do not do it stage. For smaller ones, yes, but for large ones, leave it as on live. I'm pretty much done, and now all I need to do is finish. And notice that I have an overview, a definition, which is where we were right now, and results. And there it is. Because I had set the flag to run it, it automatically ran it. I could always go to Explorer on the left-hand side and say Run Profile, and you're controlling the execution of it. Here it is. I have run it. Now remember, this is only 20 records. Does the profiling tell me that? Yes. Customer ID, 20 records. Actually, it says unique values. The percentage are 100, which means every record has a unique customer ID. Any nulls? No. The inferred and documented, the data itself shows that it was integer 4, 100%. The documented, what I was told to bring in, is decimal 4. In this case, it's a perfect match because I didn't change it. When I was firstly importing the definition, had I changed that, you would see a difference. All right, so documented means that was designed. A table, a column for name of 50, yet the data was only 20 characters long. The inferred data will be 20, the documented would be 50, etc. So pretty good. There goes my initial profiling. Let's take a look at states. I double click and then you get the profiling details on the right hand side. You see the values. I can sort by them. I have 1 California, 1 Colorado, 5 Floridas. I could also look at patterns. In the US, I should only expect character data, 2-digit. That's all I have, XX. Had I seen a B, a parentheses, maybe that would indicate that I have some anomalies. Now, the analyst is the one that spends quite a bit of time documenting the anomalies. Let me just jump quickly to, let's see, let me just jump quickly to phone. Notice here in patterns, you see different patterns. There is null data. 6 of them do not have a phone number. Some of them have 10 repeating digits. Some of them have 3 digits, dot 3 digits, and then repeat a 4. And then you see X's. X's means there's a character. Obviously, phone numbers cannot have characters. Now, at any given time, you can drill in, and you'll get to see the actual data. Here it is. Remember when I was setting up the profile, I only wanted 3 columns to drill down to, and that's what I see. Customer ID, name, and state. Well, unfortunately, I did not select phone number as the drill-in column, so I don't see the data. I could actually quickly go and profile this, and go ahead and let me do that. I want to see phone number also, so let me go ahead and add phone number. There it is to the drill down values. And now what I'm going to do is save this, and I'm going to go ahead and run profile again. Okay, and there it is. Now let's go see the results, and focusing on phone number again. I see the patterns, and I want to drill in on the one that has an X just to see what is going on. There it is. Now that I have phone displayed there as a drill down, you see it has the word call colon. Well, that's not a phone number. Obviously, we have some anomalies. Now, you and I normally as developers don't spend a lot of time documenting. That's what the analyst does. So let me move on. Just wanted to show you that this is what the profile looks like. And you normally profile every column, the values, the statistics, etc. Okay, so let me go back to, in this case, let me go back to state and stay at values. Pretty good, not very bad. And let's see, and if I look at phones, why don't I apply a rule? So the next topic is how do you apply rules? Well, you go back to the definition. Remember that rules are pre-existing out-of-the-box rules given to you by Informatica. created by your own developers or even purchased. Now, we do have some pre-existing rules. Or I could create my own rule. How would I create my own rule as a developer? I will create a maplet and then save it as a rule. At that point, it's visible as a rule to everybody and not just a maplet. Now, what I want to do here, I want to go to column profiling and notice, well, first of all, let's apply a rule. Now, is there a pre-existing rule? What I want is to find a rule that removes any character, only leaves me numeric data on a phone number. Is there such a rule? Let me click on Add. Now, if you don't know, then you have to browse and try to find one. I would go to Content. Is it something that Informatica gave me out of the box? You would then get very familiar with rules, and you have to really study this. There's no other way. You've got to go through each one and figure out what rules are available out of the box because you don't want to reinvent the wheel from scratch. Now, I happen to know that we do have a rule that does that. It is under Training Materials, and in here there's a rule called Rule Remove Non-Numbers. Let me select that. It could be a very generalized rule. There's an input field and there's an output. It is a type string, precision 10, and outputs this. Now, I'm going to configure it from my data set. Which is the one that would be the one that I want to clean up? Well, it is phone number. There it is. What would I call the output field? I'll just leave it out field. That's it. I applied a pre-existing rule, and all I did was supply the interface, what's coming in and what's coming out. At that point, I'm pretty much done. Let me go ahead and run the profile again. And it says that you should save the changes, and I do. Let's see, reprofiling. Notice I'm reprofiling everything and the rule, not just the rule. I could have just profiled the data against the rule. So notice here I have JL customers. That is the data set that I was profiling where we were earlier looking at state and looking at phone. But if you keep scrolling down, you also have the rule. And now look at the rule. It has the output field. It has 12 values. And when I click on it, you see on the right hand side, let me sort it by placing the cursor on value. This one has phone numbers have 6 null values. But look, everything has been stripped. Only numbers have remained. That is what this rule does. In a moment, I will show you how this rule was coded. An analyst doesn't really have to know how the rule was programmed via a maplet, but you and I as developers, we should know this because that's our job. We're going to be creating solutions for the analysts. So in a moment, I'll show you that. But let me continue in the definition, and let's apply a filter. Do I want to process the entire data? Before I do this, let's look at the profile for status. Notice I have 4 unique values for this. There's null data, there's something called A, I, and active. Let me just process all those records that have a status of A. In other words, I only want to profile where status equals A. I don't care about the other ones at the moment. How would I do that? I would go to definition, and here I would go ahead and apply a filter. Now, the filter is, notice the transformation. It is the icon for a filter, and we'll be seeing that quite often. Give it a name, active records. You can become very creative, but because this is a demo, I'll just do it quickly. And I want to set this as the active one. And now what do I have here? What kind of program could I do? Well, the column that I want here is status, and I only want to process those that have an A to this. Here it is. Just applied it, and there it is. If I don't want to apply that one, apply no active filter, or apply it, which is what I want. Let me run this, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and run this profile. Again, it says, do you want to save this? Yes. And we'll see what happened. Remember, I had 20 records in the beginning. Let's see what the results show now. Only 11 records. Why? Because probably these are the only ones that have a value, and it is. The value A occurs 11 times. That's exactly what my filter did. All right? It's just a warning. Be careful on how you leave the filters on. Just be aware. You may not be profiling the entire data set because of filters. So normally there comes a time when you, in initial profiling or maintenance, where you've got to not apply any filter, and that's what I'm going to leave it as because I don't really want to filter even bad data. So again, left it and run it again, And now basically I'm just running it again as we had originally without a filter. All right, don't forget, you don't want to leave filters on. You could if you want, but be aware that you're not profiling the entire data set. Now, what have I done? I have profiled at this moment. And one last piece. Let's go take a look at that rule. Remember the rule that we applied under training materials? Here is training. We got it from, if you have a great memory, you can see that we got it from rules in training. And they were called rules, but they're really maplets. We know that now. And here it is. Retain numbers. Excuse me. Remove non-numbers. That's the one that we applied. Double click. And let me right mouse click and arrange all iconic so we can see it in a pretty picture. Notice this is a maplet that was right mouse click, save as a rule. This is why it was available to us as a rule. So there's input coming in. There is a, notice this transformation, a labeler, and a standardization transformation, and then the output. I'll arrange all normal, and you can see how we can program this. We're going to learn how to do this later on. At the moment, I just wanted to complete this and show you how the rules actually become maplets. Okay, so at the moment we're done for right now, and the goal here was to again show you physical data objects, profiling in various ways, and that's it for right now. I will minimize developer, and thank you.